Hello, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a bookish update. So, I finished 2 books yesterday. I had finished The Framley Parsonage. I think it's book 4 in the Barsetshire series by Anthony Trollope. I haven't done my review on Goodreads or Storygraph yet, but I will. And I also finished reading clarifying that I was listening to Yellowface via Libby, because someone had told me that it was out on audiobook, because I had said in another video that I might read it if it's out on audiobook. And so as soon as I saw someone comment that, I think it was one of my new subscribers, but as soon as I saw that I looked for it on Libby, and I found it. I listened to it. It's really good. I really enjoyed that, and I have a lot to say about that book. I like how Arna Kwong is trying different things with her books, like trying different types of stories. She seems to do, a lot of similar themes that are important to her, but she also tries different. Like this one, Yellowface is a more contemporary story, and then you have the Poppy War series trilogy is more like this big epic fantasy with characters having godlike powers, and it's a school type setting, and then you have Babel, which I have not read yet. I have read a little bit of, actually, but I put it down. Where I think that is also a school type setting, but it's more historical fantasy. Where, although from what I heard, it doesn't have as much magic. Like the magic isn't as big as in the Poppy War trilogy. So I like that she's kind of doing different genres with her books. Now, depending on what the plot is about, there's not always a guarantee that I'm going to be interested in it, because I am very much a genre person, and there are certain genres that I like, that I prefer. I mean, fantasy's my go-to, but there's always things I'm willing to try. Does the plot interest me? In fact, I recently purchased a book as a gift for someone that I'm kind of curious about and interested, because I've heard a lot about the author on BookTube, and a lot of people really like her, and that's kind of more, and that the author is more contemporary and is more romance. I mean, and I have said before that romance isn't completely off the table. It's just I kind of lean more towards watching romantic movies and TV shows with romance rather than reading the books. And then if I get to an adaptation first of a romance, then I'm probably going to be more about that than actually taking the time to read the book. I mean, I have thought about for a second of checking out Bridgerton series, but then I was like, nah, I'll just watch the show. And so yeah, but again, never say never. So I mean, in the case of Bridgerton, yeah, it's probably never gonna happen. But yes, this is a genre that I normally don't go for, but I'm kind of curious about it, so I might get one of her if I ever go back to using the library again anytime soon. Then I might borrow, or I have thought about getting them on ebook, or seeing if they're on Libby yet. But anyway, the only ones the 2 I've finished so far are Yellowface and The Framley Parsonage, and I enjoyed both. And so I did start to read come back to on here. I came back to Blackwater. I read a little bit of that. I read a little bit last night before I fell asleep, and then I read a little bit in the car because we went out to breakfast. My dad and I went out to breakfast, and then I went to pick up that book as a gift for someone, and so I read a little bit in the car, The thing is, sometimes I don't get car sick, but when I'm in the car and there's a line of trees, so there's like a pattern of shade, sunlight, then that kind of bothers me because it, affects the screen. Not in like, not like the screen starts getting all fidgety or anything, but like the light, it messes up the light when I'm reading. So it's kind of the flashing, the light shade flashing bothers me. So I don't get sick, but that does bother me when I in the car when I'm trying to read. So, and leaving right about from our neighborhood into town, there's a lot of that. So, and then unfortunately, I noticed that on road trips, whether we're going to see my sister or my grandmother, there are parts of the trip that where I run into that. So that's really annoying, especially when I can read in the car when I'm not gonna get sick, but then like the light messing with the page of the screen is really bothersome. So, um, I didn't read a lot. I just read enough so like where we just read a little bit and then I stopped. And the good news, I was kind of trying to get to in the next chapter anyway, so it worked out so that when I'm not like in the middle of a chapter when I got out and then picked it back up again. But anyway, in the chapter right now, the Eleanor and Oscar are engaged now, and Mary Love, Oscar's mom, does not like it. She still does not trust Eleanor, and while sister is like thinking that her mom is jealous of Eleanor, might be jealous of Eleanor because Eleanor has got, in her mind, she's kind of got power. Like he's more powerful than Mary Love, and she thinks that it's a jealousy thing. Now, I've said this before. I think the problem with Mary Love is that she just can't articulate what it is. She can't pinpoint what it is exactly that she doesn't like about Eleanor, why she doesn't trust her. And and I think it's kind of when you can't really articulate what bothers you, or what bothers you about the person might be seen as silly. This because the sunlight is in the way. You come up with all these different excuses on why you really don't like a person, and you can't really articulate and come up with really good, legit reasons why this person is not worthy and trustworthy, because you don't want to admit that you just don't like them. Because if you just don't like them, then that would seem ridiculous. And it's like, oh, you just got to get to know the person. Which actually kind of in Family Parsonage, Ludwig is in love with Lucy Robarts, Mark Robarts' sister, the Parsons' sister. And the mom is like, she's not good enough for you. She won't fit the role of being the next Lady Lufton. She can't really explain why, but at first she can't explain that. She can't really articulate what that reason as well, and because and her son would be so dismissive of it, because he believes that Lucy can. He sees her, he knows her, and he tells his mom, you just don't know this woman. You haven't gotten to know her yet. Which ends up being right. I mean, granted, I don't know what's gonna happen in the next book, but I do feel like he's not wrong there. Of course, this is a Blackwater's a horror book, so I'm assuming that Mary Love is right about Eleanor, especially is right about Eleanor and right she's not trustworthy. But we're gonna find out at some point. And it seems like the young people, one of the girls, there's a little black girl, gets really attached to Eleanor and becomes her messenger girl, and Mary Love doesn't like that. Doesn't like how her she's bothered by that as well. But don't get too excited, because she's like, well, she works for us, she's supposed to do stuff for us, you're keeping her from doing things for us. And now she could just be saying that because it's just she's not very good at really showing affection for someone that's not her child. I don't know, but or concern. And we also have, there's tension when they tell Mary Love they're gonna Oscar and Eleanor tell Mary Love, and everyone's all cool with it, except like Sister's a little back and forth, like. But wow, Mary Love is just she's trying to be somewhere, but she doesn't like it, so she ends up is all, and so there's all this tension, and it's like they want to get married soon, but Mary Love's like, no, you have to wait a year because I'm gonna buy you a house. That's my gift to you. It's like her way of taking some control back, some power back, is that, okay, fine, you guys married, but you're gonna live in a house next door to us. Which kind of goes back to what the sister was talking, was her thinking, her concern that she doesn't like the power that Eleanor is asserting, and that Eleanor might be more powerful and might have more power than her. That kind of being, deciding, okay, fine, you guys can get married, but you get married when I say, and I'm gonna buy you a house where you live right next door to us so I can keep an eye on you and protect my son. Like that's her way of taking some power back. Anyway, so that is, so it's obviously, it's really interesting. It's getting really interesting. Like I said, it's not a traditional horror. It's more of a family drama than anything, and like it has horror elements, but I feel like the horror elements so far, like little things, are very subtle things. It would be great as as a mini series or a limited series, or a regular length series. Although, I mean, like nowadays though, I don't think we have the traditional regular length series, because most shows are like seasons are 6 to 8 episodes long. Or, well, I mean, there are some streaming networks that have 10 episode series. Like I think on Max on HBO there's 10 episode seasons. But so they could do that. They could, Blackwater could be easily turned into like a limited series or something. I think that'd be really fun. But anyways, I started reading that again a little bit. And also read a little bit more of America is in the Heart by Carlos Bulosan. This is a memoir from a poet, and his family worked on a farm, but they didn't own the farm. They never could make enough money to own the farm. His dad kept having to pay people, and he never could make enough. And his brothers would have to be sent away from school. And his mom didn't even live with them. She lived in a town over, the next town over, which is a really sad situation that the family couldn't even be together. They were always working their asses off on this farm. They practically killing themselves, and the only way, and of course these kids couldn't have. They had to go away if they wanted an education. And sometimes there was, beforehand, before they could finally go to an actual school and get a formal education, the only way he could learn was through talking to his older brothers and reading books. So he had to kind of teach himself until he was able to get a formal education. In the last chapter I read, he's kind of forced to leave his family and go to the city and get jobs as, houseboys working for white women, white men that are in the are living in the Philippines. And when he gets to work in the library, that was so great. That is actually, well, I mean, it's not, for her situation, it's sad that it's the only job he can get, but I do like that he gets to work in a library, at least for a little while. But yeah, his life kind of sucks. but it's really, it's really cool. At least he finds ways to educate himself and to read, like he gets to read books. Which, I mean, compared to his situation, it's not much, but it's something. Um, but yeah, this what I like about this is it does read like a work of fiction, even though it's not fiction. Like the writing style, I mean, it's not as detailed as a work of fiction, but it's still like it makes it easier to read. So it feels like you're actually reading a story. I mean, which is why I think that reading memoirs sometimes it's easier to do than biographies because you're reading the story from that person's point of view and they're not covering their whole life. They're just covering, what they remember. And it kind of is like they're telling the story of their life. And that's what this guy is doing. This Alos is doing is he's telling the story of his life. But yeah, it's so his life is really sad. I mean, there's glimmers of happiness throughout in his life, but that's about it. And just glimmers, just brief moments. But yeah, he's like slowly trying to make enough money to go to America because I'm guessing he does end up going to America at some point. I don't know when though. I don't know if he's gonna ever make. I'm assuming at some point he's gonna make enough money to do that. I mean, here's what he's gonna like. He's a poet, but I'm wondering if he's gonna get other jobs or if he's just gonna be a writer. But I would love to see if I can get access to his writing, when his other writing, like his poetry, if his poetry and stuff, if it's in English, if it's translated, I would love to get it. Sadly, I never learned Tagalog, and I gave up on Spanish, which minor, don't give up on learning a foreign language. And I don't even know if that might have helped me a little bit, but it wouldn't really help me. I mean, it might have helped me some, but I don't know if it would help me completely with reading this Filipino literature. I mean, but I wish my grandma had, pushed me learning Tagalog. But my parents, they never even tried, I don't think. Which, which can be, I think, is both a good and a bad thing. Like, now as an adult, I regret it. I wish I wish they pushed us to learn it. But then on the other hand, it's kind of like, as a kid, I might have fought learning it, might have been resistant to it, and the same with my sister. I don't know, maybe my sister would be more willing to learn it, but me, I might have fought against the idea of learning it because it might have been, although I don't think I'm curious how hard of a language it is to learn. I mean, I know there are ways to learn languages, and I'm sure some of those ways do offer Tagalog, but at the same time, I feel like it's not the same thing. Learning the language from an audio learning tool I feel like that's not the same as actually learning the language. I mean, like, you're learning enough to where you can get by, like, if you're a tourist in that country. Or, like, occasionally having a conversation with someone from that country. But they will probably know that it's not your natural language. Like, I think taking a class would be better. But I don't know if I could ever find a class. So, I mean, that would be the only thing I feel like I could do is like see if it's offered on one of those audio language learning tools, if they offer Tagalog. But, and my grandma's in her 80s. So, in her memory, like, she remembers, like, and it can be kind of hard to communicate with her because her hearing is not that great anymore. So, unfortunately, I can't learn from her. And any of my other relatives that are, full-on Filipino, they live very far away, and I don't communicate with them or I can talk to them regularly. So it's not as easy for me to learn the language. So I noticed there are a lot of works I would love to read that they don't have translated works. Which, interesting thinking about that when I'm planning on reading Babel at some point. Which kind of is about that. The language and translation and colonialism and all that. But anyway. And this is set during the during World War II, I believe. So around the time that I think it might be in. Let me see. Does it say the? Yeah, 1946. Yeah, so World War II. So it's around the time. Well, okay. So this is an autobiography. I always think of autobiographies being longer, but So yeah, this is 1946. So this is after. I don't know if this is. I do not remember when Japan left because they were not there. They were only there a couple years. Although I'm sure for them it felt longer. And for the Filipinos. But it was 46. I don't know when Japan left. If they left, I mean, World War II did end around 45. So this had to have been after the fact. But there was still this class divide. But there is a class divide between, there's the peasants and there's the rich people. And of course, Carlos Bulosan's family are peasants. So yeah, that is that. So which I would recommend. I definitely recommend this. Another book that I would recommend if you want to learn more about the Philippines. Again, I'm gonna keep pushing these books because I want people to learn about the Philippines. Other parts of the world get talked about that were part of World War II, and were affected by World War II. But I want more people to know about the Philippines because they were also affected. Okay, and then the last book I kind of started, I finally started reading the Book of Lost Things. And I haven't read a lot. So far I've read up to chapter 4. You have this boy David. His mom has just died of cancer. And his mom and him bonded over reading and books. She is the reason he loves reading and is so passionate about it. And he uses it as a form of escapism. And she dies of I think it was cancer that they said she had. And he's struggling with dealing with it. But it is a real, not all the things that happen like when you were slowly dying and your body is deteriorating really fast, and the constant hospital visits are hard on this kid, and he's almost relieved that she's finally passed and is at peace and is gone. He doesn't have to cope with that anymore, and which he feels guilty about. And his dad, who is a mathematics professor, is starting to move on to this woman Rose, and David does not like that. He doesn't like that. He thinks it is wrong for his dad to already move on, and he starts having these blackouts. David does, and ends up seeing a psychiatrist. And around this time, his dad's new girlfriend is pregnant, and he has a new half brother and a new brother, and they're gonna get married. Rose and David's dad are gonna get married, and he doesn't like that. And of course, he's got to move to a new house, to her house, which is bigger than the house him and his dad and mom used to live in, I think. And this is also set during World War II, right at the start of World War II. So his dad has to quit his job and help work for the government instead. But yeah, and he's already started seeing this monster, hearing the books. Whenever he's, along with the blackouts, he also starts hearing the voices of the books. And it's really driving him crazy, and he doesn't like it. It's overwhelming. And, but he won't talk to his new psychiatrist. Because he doesn't want, he doesn't want to admit things that will make him seem crazy. And he doesn't want his psychiatrist to tell his dad. And that's what I've read so far in this book. Oh, and also not only is he hearing the books, but he also is seeing in his dream this guy he calls the Crooked Man is speaking to him and talking to him, and that creeps David out. That scares him. So that's as much as I've read. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying this, and I'm definitely intrigued. Excuse me, intrigued by the mystery and what who the Crooked Man is and why David keeps hearing these books, the voices of the books, and also I wonder what his relationship with his new family is going to be like. He obviously doesn't like him yet, but I'm wondering if by the end of the book, after his experiences, that by the end, if he's going to like them, if he's going to accept them as his family now, his little brother and his new baby brother George, and his new mom Rose. Which I definitely have mixed feelings about, because on one hand, yeah, the dad's probably lonely and he's grieving, and Rose probably offers him comfort. And sometimes when you receive comfort, emotions can be raised, and you can be, it can create intimacy between you and someone else. And I definitely feel sympathy for the dad and his struggles, that now he's on his own raising this kid. But David, he's just a kid. This woman is not his mom. His dad's already moving on with someone new, and he's got a new brother, so attention is going to be taken from David, and he wants his dad. He wants attention from his dad. And which my mom used to listen to Dr. Laura, although she doesn't anymore because she doesn't agree with everything that Dr. Laura says, but some things she does. Me, Dr. Laura just aggravates me, but occasionally, like my mom, there are some things that I agree with Dr. Laura about. But I know that she has said that when you have a kid, it's probably not good to remarry, and I can kind of understand her reasoning for that. Because even, like, part of me wants to be like, well, what about the person? Like, they don't get a right to have a life now, but then your life is your child, and you need to take care of your child. And, I always see this idea in a movie when someone loses a child or a partner, that all of a sudden, like, they're grieving so much that they can't function properly, and they just ignore their child, their living child. And it's like, your child, your main child, has lost someone also. They are alone and they are scared, and they understand. At least on some level, you understand. Like, you don't entirely understand, but you are an adult. I mean, granted, there's a lot of pressure. You shouldn't, but that is a lot of pressure, but you are still the parent. So, I mostly agree, but every so often I'm like, but then, when I hear talk about it, I'm like, yeah, but what about that person? They don't deserve to be happy. But then I want to be contrary to Dr. Laura all the time anyway. So I mostly agree with her on this front, that, yeah, I think it's tricky. It's a tricky situation to be in if you have a young child and you're getting remarried. Now, I do know someone that has gotten remarried, and it's been successful. They had gotten out of abusive, marriage. The guy was not a great dad or a great husband. He was abusive and controlling. And she was able to remarry again to someone that has their own kid and is also getting a divorce. And I don't know about their personal situation, but I do like the guy. He's very nice, very kind, very friendly, a very, loving man and everything. And he seems like a good dad, and he's a good dad and everything. So that situation worked out for them. But but it's a fine line, that. And I always find myself getting frustrated with these fathers in these stories anyway, because they're just so, like, you just get so, it's like your kids are right there. They are vulnerable. They are scared. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle the situation. You are the grown-up here. You somewhat have some understanding of the situation and can handle it. And you're not a child. Like, even in it, like, it's Bill's parents, when Georgie dies, they just, granted, I don't know what it's like to lose a child. I don't know that. I am well aware of that. I don't know how hard and the struggle and what it's like to lose a child, and I will never know because I don't plan on having children. But it's kind of, but they have their son. The kid is almost a teenager, but he's still a kid and being terrorized by a monster, which the parents aren't aware of, granted. And he is scared, and he blames himself. He blames himself for it. Like, and in the most recent adaptation of it, they take it one step further and have him, lying about being sick and not wanting to go out there, and then so it doubles the guilt. But in the book and in the previous adaptation, he didn't lie. He was genuinely sick. He couldn't control it. So it makes, so this 12-year-old boy feels guilty and feels responsible and is taking on the weight of the world on his shoulders right now, the weight of his brother's death, and the community and the children in this whole community are being terrorized and eaten by this monster. And his parents are just like, he doesn't exist. And I think he does consider that they blame him for his brother's death at one point. He does start to think about that. Like, I do distinctly remember seeing in the book where he's sitting, like, there is, of course, the scene with the phone album and the winking picture, which is really creepy. But there's also, I distinctly remember a scene, and maybe I just pictured it that way, but a scene where he's sitting on the couch between his two parents, and they're not doing anything. They're just numb right now, and he just is like, he knows that they blame him for Georgie's death. And that just really frustrating, which I think that was the point. You're supposed to show that the parents in Derry are not that great. I mean, even the one parent, even Ben's mom, who is pretty decent of a parent, and I think Richie's parents are okay too. Like, even the ones that are somewhat decent parents, even they're, not the best parents. But yeah, it's really sad because, you see this kid, this young kid who's only 12. But at least David's dad is not that bad of a guy. He's he is trying, and he seems like a loving father, although I was at one point when it's, he starts to hear from people that, okay, your son might need to see a psychiatrist. He does seem like angry about that. So I don't know if over time, he's gonna get really frustrated that his kid, he has to worry about that, about his kid being crazy or something, or at least needing to see a psychiatrist. Wonder if he's gonna get mad about that. And it's gonna blow up. But anyway, I am looking forward to reading more of this, and there is a sequel to this book. Let me see if it's in here. It is mentioned in here. But I was looking at my shelf because the sequel to this was not there last time I went to Books A Million. And, this time I didn't even look for it. I was trying to, focus on getting the book as a gift for someone. Getting the book I wanted to buy as a gift. And I didn't look that time, but last time I went, I didn't see the sequel book to this. It was already gone. So someone must have already bought it. But it seems like Connolly has a wide variety of works. Like, he doesn't just, which I think is really great for an author to do, is make sure that they do different types of oh, that's funny. I just read this book that it makes a reference to Rubicon in this one, and I just read it. This is very convenient. Okay, well, there's no reference. I must have saw the reference to the sequel book on on Goodreads, because like I said, someone already bought it. It's not there anymore at Books A Million. But I think that one is about a little girl this time. Well, this one, But I don't remember what it said it was about, because I did read the back of it, but I don't remember what it said. Anyway, so that's what I'm reading. I really am obsessed with watching videos that are like talking about how to read better or how to read more books. I really like watching those videos, and I decided last night I was looking for one again just to watch, and this is a YouTuber that I watched before. And he was doing a redo, looking back on his previous video on how to read better. And I did watch it, but it's been a long time since I watched it. Actually, no, I think I watched I think I did watch that one recently. But anyway, so I watched his kind of looking back on that video and seeing if he would change some things. And one of the things I really like that he talked about is that, and I guess he did mention it in his previous video. So maybe I didn't I'm not 100% if I re-watched his previous video on reading better. But one of the things he referred to saying he brought up on that video was instead of doing reading goals, or maybe he said in this video that he went to elaborate on ways on something you can do instead of reading goals. I don't know, but let me get to the main point. So he talked about doing reading goals. Or he talked about instead of doing reading goals, you could do reading projects. And I kind of like that idea. I really like the idea of focusing on something, and I kind of am doing that because, and maybe it was because he mentioned it in one of his videos, I don't know that I thought about it, but the idea of, I'm already thinking about doing, redoing the Stephen King project, redoing that one and coming back and, making sure I'm better, more focused on it, and actually reading the books every 2 months instead of every 4 months or whatever. So I did talk about that, and then also I kind of started a project where I also started a project where I'm reading more Filipino literature, and I am interested in Japanese literature as well. So I thought about pursuing that as well, and then there's other ideas, things I would like to do, like a project on, I also talked about recently doing a kind of project that's a challenge to read books that intimidate me, and I already, I posted that video as well, talking about books that are more challenging to me because whether the content or the writing style or that they're just plain long books, as well. So those are some of the projects I've been thinking I already kind of started thinking about doing that before I watched his re-examination of his previous video. But yeah, so I really like that idea instead of setting goals for myself. I think I'll still do the Goodreads goal. I say I shouldn't, but I don't like leaving it blank. I like putting a number goal, which I know he discussed in that video how it's not necessarily good to do number goals. He doesn't agree with doing numbering your books, and it probably because it seems like you're more focused on the amount of books you read when you have a numbers goal and you number how many books you read, because you're so focused on marking off getting as many books as you want read, and you end up reading books that are just okay to you when you're not interested, but you just want to, or really short books that you don't love necessarily, or you're not as excited to read, and just to get a number. And I try not to give that impression, but I probably don't. I don't know how well of a job I do with that impression, assuring you guys that I don't feel that way. Maybe even just bringing it up constantly will make you doubt me and make you think, oh, you do just care about numbers. But honestly, like I said, it's just kind of fun to set the number goal, the Goodreads goal, and set a goal on StoryGraph. It's kind of fun to do. So, but I just need to get out of the habit of doing that extra document, like on, on my Word document. I want to stop doing that, but I mean, I tried to stop doing that, but I kind of like doing it because it's a habit I've built over the years, and I kind of have fun. It's like even though it's just a little thing and it's just taking a second to, I like doing that. I mean, although what would be nice, maybe I could just try to write them down instead of writing a Word document, which is so annoying. This is what happens when I don't close my blinds, is the stupid light shines because it's sunny. But yeah, I want to get this film now because while Murphy's kind of in my parents' room just laying on their bed, so he's not, trying to get my attention, and he won't follow me upstairs. So I'm trying to film this now while he's distracted. So unfortunately that means I have to deal with the light, and I should have closed the blinds, but I forgot to do that. Anyway, so that's the other thing I'm working on, is kind of planning during my projects. And I think I just need to start now. Like, I always feel like I have to start, like, right at the beginning of the year. I don't like starting things in the middle or close to the end of the year. I want to start them at the start of the new year. But I think I feel like I should just start it. And at the same time, I feel like I should start it now so I can build the habit. But anyway, so I don't know how I would do that, but I'm at least thinking about it now. Anyway, so that was my bookish update for you guys. I hope you are enjoying your reading right now. I would love to know what you're currently reading. Have you guys thought about your plans for 2025? I mean, I know I already asked that, but what do you think of that idea of doing, instead of instead of goals, what do you think about doing projects, like focusing on something else? Have you guys ever thought about doing that? I think it's a really cool idea, but I'm also a big nerd. So anyway, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already and you're interested in watching more of my videos. And also, if you want to be updated when I upload my videos, please click the bell icon. I hope you're enjoying your reading, and don't feel obligated to do those things, but it does really help my channel grow. And I'm not gonna lie and say that that's not important to an extent, because it's important for everyone on BookTube as a channel. We all want our channels to grow. So, but don't feel like you have to do that. But I do appreciate when you do that. All right. Bye.